ebb and flow. He'll tell you things that you never knew and ask you things you never told. Occasionally you'll lose your sense of him, but not for long. Sometimes he will suggest a rest or a particular path, but mostly he will follow your lead, accompanying you every step of the way until eventually you come full circle, arriving home, knowing yourself known. We're taking a map with us, of course, the world's most famous prayer, the Lord's Prayer, given to us by Jesus himself for this very purpose, to teach us to pray. In these old, familiar words, we are going to discover 9 different paths of prayer: stillness, adoration, petition, intercession, perseverance, contemplation, listening, confession, and spiritual warfare. And our journey is going to be paced around an easy 4-step rhythm. P-R-A-Y. Pray. Pause. Rejoice. Ask. Yield. I'm not a big fan of acronyms. They smack of science textbooks and over-earnest sermons, but this particular one just works because it's simple, sensible, and sneakily profound. Try not to take its 4 steps as hard and fast rules, rungs on a ladder to some 7th heaven. They're more like dance steps, fluid, interactive, and open to creative interpretation. Give pray, P-R-A-Y, a chance, and it'll lend your prayer life a light structure and an easy flow, whether you're on your own or praying in a group, although with children you may want to swap that tricky word yield for yes. I've been writing this book for the best part of 2 decades, ever since a couple of important discoveries inadvertently launched the 24/7 prayer movement. The first was that prayer is actually, surprisingly, pretty much the most important thing in life. And the second discovery was that my friends and I were horribly bad at it. Since that inauspicious start, we've been on an adventure of exploration into this simple, difficult, inevitable thing that beats at the heart of life and faith and culture. The teaching in this book flows, therefore, not so much from libraries, seminaries, and polished pulpits, but from the practical discoveries we've made in hundreds of pop-up prayer rooms, praying night and day over the last 20 years. You can read How to Pray on its own, it's a standalone product, but also as a companion volume to the Prayer Course, a free online program for small groups that uses videos and discussion starters to apply different aspects of the Lord's Prayer to daily life. As I've indicated, at the end of each chapter, you'll find a hero of prayer, whose life exemplifies the particular type of prayer that we've been studying, and links to 2 additional online resources that are available for you if you look at www.prayercourse.org. Firstly, there is a tool shed with 30 practical prayer tools that can help you to practice this kind of prayer. And secondly, there is the prayer course video that relates to that particular chapter, including a guide for small group discussion. How to Pray, P-R-A-Y. We read that Jesus was praying one day in a certain place, and when he finished, one of his disciples said to him, "Lord, teach us to pray, just as John taught his disciples." Every pilgrim gets a stone in their shoe eventually. You wake up one morning thinking, is this really all there is to knowing the creator of 100 billion galaxies? You read the book of Acts and ask, why isn't it like that anymore? Your world falls apart and you desperately need a miracle. You stare up at the stars and you feel things bigger than religious language. You say to yourself, if this thing is true, there's got to be more power, more mystery, more actual personal experience. And so finally, you turn to God, half wondering whether you are any more than half serious, and you say, "Lord, teach me to pray." And he replies, "I thought you'd never ask." Chapter 1. Prayer Everywhere. Why pray? One day Jesus was praying in a certain place. The poet Alfred Lord Tennyson, in his Idylls of the King, says more things are wrought by